Hello and welcome. Today, we are setting off on an exciting journey into the world of relations and functions, one of the most fascinating ideas in mathematics. Let's start with something simple, something you already know. Picture your family for a moment. There's your father, your mother, and you. Notice how you're connected. You are the child of your parents. That connection is what we call a relation. Relations aren't just about people. In math, they help us discover patterns, rules that tie one quantity to another. Here's a quick example inspired by your NCERT textbook. Imagine you have two sets. The first set, called A, holds two colors, red and blue. The second set, B, has three objects, a bag, a coat, and a shirt. Now think about this. What happens if you pair each color with each object? You'd have combinations like red bag, blue coat, and so on. In that moment, without even realizing it, you've created a relation. Stay with me, because this is where mathematics begins to turn familiar ideas into something powerful. Before we dive deeper, let's pause for a moment and ask an important question. Why should we care about relations in mathematics at all? Think about it. Mathematics is really the science of finding patterns. And relations are the tools that help us describe how two things are linked in a precise, orderly way. Let's look at a few examples you might recognize. When you say number 3 is less than number 5, you're describing a relation between two numbers. When a line, which we call L, is parallel to another line M, that's a relation between two lines. Or when one set A is a subset of another set B, that too is a relation. Each of these statements tells us how one object connects to another. So, in simple terms, a relation is just a rule or a condition that links two quantities or objects together. Keep this idea in mind. It's the starting point for understanding how mathematics can organize and explain the world around us. Let's take a step back and look at this idea side by side with examples from everyday life. In your daily life, relations are everywhere. Think about phrases like father of, sister of, or friend of. These words describe how people are connected to each other. In mathematics, we do something very similar, but our language is even more precise. Here, relations can be statements like is less than, is equal to, or is a factor of. The main point is simple but powerful. A relation connects pairs of objects in a specific order. Let's take an example to see why order matters. When you say 3 is less than 5, that's true, but flip it around, 5 is less than 3, and suddenly the statement is false. This is why, in mathematics, the order in which you pair elements is essential. This idea sets the stage for something called ordered pairs, which you're going to explore next. Let's bring this idea to life with a simple example you can picture easily. Imagine you work in a clothing store. Your job is to label every product with both a color tag and an item tag. For instance, you might pick up a red bag or a blue shirt. What you're really doing here is creating pairs. You're linking one color from a set of colors to one object from a set of products. This is exactly what mathematicians do when they talk about relations. They look for ways to pair elements from one set to elements in another set, so they can see all the possible connections in an organized way. This kind of systematic pairing isn't just about labels. It's a method that helps us sort, understand, and analyze information clearly and logically. And that's the beauty of mathematics. It helps us bring order to the things around us. So, why is it so important to understand relations? Because they are the foundation for many powerful ideas in mathematics, like functions, graphs, and mathematical models that help us solve real-world problems. Let's look at an example you might find familiar. Imagine you want to understand how the price of a product changes when you sell more units. That's a relation between two quantities. Quantity sold and price. At first, this connection could be a simple list of how different quantities match up with different prices. But if you want this relation to be more precise, where every quantity leads to exactly one price, you create what mathematicians call a function. In this way, you can think of relations as the building blocks of mathematics. And functions? They're special types of relations that follow extra rules, making them even more useful for studying patterns and predicting outcomes. Let's walk through a simple numeric example to see how this works in action. Imagine you have two sets. Set P, which contains the numbers 1 and 2. Set Q, which contains 3 and 4. To find all possible pairings, you create something called the Cartesian product. This means you list every way an element from P can be paired with an element from Q, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 4. These are your four ordered pairs. Any combination or subset of these pairs forms a different relation. So how many relations could you possibly define between P and Q? It's 2 raised to the power of 4, spelled out 2 to the power 4 equals 16. That means there are 16 different relations you could create from these two sets. Pretty amazing how much variety can come from just a few elements. Let's take a moment to recap what we've learned so far. First, a relation is simply a way to link pairs of objects or quantities in a specific order. It helps us clearly describe how different elements are connected to each other. Relations are the starting point for bigger ideas like functions, graphs, and mathematical models that let us explore patterns and make predictions. And remember, relations can be shown in different ways, visually with diagrams, verbally in words, or numerically using pairs and tables. In our upcoming lessons, we'll dive deeper into ordered pairs, Cartesian products, and learn how to define relations step by step. Stay curious. This is just the beginning of discovering how mathematics builds connections everywhere. Thank you for joining me on this introduction to relations and functions. In our next video, we'll explore Cartesian products of sets and discover how these simple pairs lay the groundwork for all kinds of relations. Until then, keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop learning. I'll see you in the next lesson.